Hello, I'm Dr. McKendrick, Assistant Professor in Psychology at Heriot-Watt University, working in gamification for sustainable mental health. The World Health Organization has predicted that depression will lead global disease burden by 2030. The world is unpredictable with climate change, pandemic, housing, food shortages, and clinical shortages of staff, and existing services are unable to meet the needs of individuals in society. With over 800 deaths by suicide annually, mental health has therefore been included in the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and Sustainable Development Goals. The goal of sustainable mental health work is to improve prevention, personalise intervention, monitoring and support for emotional health and well-being in an individualised, accessible manner over the long term. So there's been significant growth in smartphone apps for mental health. However, there's a dearth of training platforms grounded in scientific theory with measurable quantitative outcomes. Game-based approaches for mental health are in their infancy, and some research suggests potential benefits for psychological behaviour changes or symptom relief. And there has been a significant growth in this area, but many have not actually been scientifically tested. There's also some evidence to suggest that there's lower rates of engagement over time as engagement starts to drop off, and higher rates of engagement have also been associated with apps that are designed for brief interaction. So there are games such as Super Better, which is designed to increase resilience and work towards goals for 13-year-old upwards, and that's been validated to some extent, but in a self-selecting sample with high attrition rates. And here we have another game, Sparks. This game has a lot of elements typically found in therapy, such as relaxation techniques, cognitive restructuring, mindfulness. And it's been validated on users who have milder depression, though, that would typically be treated by primary care services. Responses, though, were based on self-report, so it's difficult to gauge the true potential here, and they didn't have a proper control group who were given similar sort of non-therapeutic activity. And this is one of the problems in validating digital interventions such as this. It becomes unclear which elements, for example the routine playing of an enjoyable game or the therapeutic elements, are responsible for the change in mental state and to what degree. So there is some evidence to date that indicates that mental health interventions can reduce depressive symptoms, but we have yet to establish ways in which user engagement and individual patient characteristics influence intervention outcomes. So this led me to think, what are the kind of games that are just purchased, that are popular, that people just play for pleasure, like Among Us, where it's based around simple, fun, free, quick, easily portable cross-platform activities, Call of Duty and PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds that are fast-paced, competitive, easy to play, accessible, affordable with varied scenarios, Minecraft has versatility, creativity, exploration, graphics, multiplayer fun. And can we capture these aspects and combine them with therapeutic aspects? During the pandemic, certainly people flocked to Animal Crossing for its social interaction, novelty, environment, simplicity and purpose. But recent research has showed that increasing gaming and related activities were predictive of higher anxiety and somewhat related to increased loneliness. Avoidance tactics are common in some mental health disorders like anxiety and social anxiety, and so encouraging people to avoid reality may not be in their best interest long term. So I mentioned social anxiety, and this is something that can be situational and transient in nature, but when chronic and dispositional, it can affect social functioning, resulting in withdrawal and isolation. And avoidance is one of the key hallmarks of this. Cognitive behavioural models of social anxiety propose distinct attentional processes which interact with other cognitive processes to maintain a cycle of social anxiety. My preliminary work in gamification for mental health is focused on social anxiety, which, with a lifetime prevalence of 12%, can be debilitating, and with a 70% comorbidity for other mental health disorders, it's an important aspect to be addressed. Yet poor access to services, perceived stigma, mobility issues, and reluctance to engage with a therapist can hinder effective treatment. But there's a dearth of training paradigms grounded in scientific theory with measurable quantitative outcomes. Social skills training is generally delivered over a 1 or 2 day training course with no measurable effectiveness, and other methods employed by companies such as Mind Tools encourage presenters, for example, with public speaking anxiety, to read audience feedback in order to alert the presenter to flaws in their pitch that they may be able to control. This is certainly useful in redirecting a presentation towards a more effective slant for a particular audience, but the focus is on the content there rather than the speaker, so the method presumes that the speaker is confident enough to be able to change halfway through a speech in order to address the audience in the most appropriate manner. An anxious speaker is less likely to be able to adapt to this and way more likely to take a negatively, a personal view that the response is negative. Current treatments for social anxiety disorders primarily involve pharmacology and/or cognitive behavioural therapy or interpersonal therapy. Exposure helps patients to maintain engagement with or attention to a feared situation in successive degrees, starting with imagining the situation through to role-play and practicing. Cognitive restructuring helps patients to identify negative experiences and evaluate the rational basis of their thought patterns and construct alternative cognitions. And social skills training involves modelling, rehearsal and feedback to guide patients towards a desired response and positive reinforcement. And I have formally worked with Glasgow Art School to design a programme in which we combined exposure with cognitive restructuring to train socially anxious individuals through rewards to associate a more favourable response in terms of the face they paid attention to and how they interpreted the facial expression. And this is something that we're building on to help people have a sustainable mobile support for social anxiety when they need it. We're currently trialling similar methods using a live audience. But one of the things that we noted was the need for a more personalised approach, and it also needs to be simple and mobile enough to be used at any time. But this, beyond this, we need to consider how we offer simplicity also with something that is compelling to encourage the engagement over a longer period of time. And one thing that came to my mind was playing a game that my daughter had on her phone from when she was really young, and it's called My Horse, and it's a play app designed for children with different modules in it. And I noticed that I started to play the grooming module, and it's just grooming the horse in the stable, and it's one of the most relaxing things I think I've ever done, because it just makes you stop for a moment and just focus on a repetitive action that gives a rewarding feeling of helping a pet while also collecting a reward at the same time. I think that maybe we can keep things very simple with an element of therapeutic value. And when I think about games like Tour of Duty and or Call of Duty rather, and how they might be able to dissipate anger, and this is where I find the engagement factor, where games tap directly into the emotion that we need to feel at the time, and how we do that effectively and individually for users. And for this, I think we need to be looking towards artificial intelligence to create a truly sustainable mental health digital response that is tailored to the individual's needs and ultimately to society's needs. Thanks for listening, and I look forward to interacting with you more during our symposium.